What does the concept of moving forward really mean? At its core, moving forward is about embracing change as a force for good, recognizing that the world is evolving faster than ever, and that clinging to outdated ideas or traditions holds us back. And here I'm talking in reference to us in Africa, South Africa. The future demands more than just survival. It demands a universal culture, a culture that reflects the best of humanity, one that adapts to the challenges and realities of today, and sheds the practices that no longer serve a meaningful purpose. This is not about abandoning our roots or disregarding our history or culture. It is about knowing when to let go of the past to build something stronger, wiser, and more inclusive for the future, a golden future. Change is not the enemy of history. Resistance to change is. If we fail to grasp this, we risk being left behind, fading into history alongside the very cultures we stubbornly defend. Moving forward isn't just a phrase, it is a philosophy, a call to action, and a mindset for those who are ready to evolve and grow. In this series, we will explore what it truly means to move forward, both as an individual and as a global community, and why it is essential for our collective survival and progress. The future demands a universal culture, a culture that adapts to the real world, that draws from the best of what humanity has to offer, and leaves behind the past practices that no longer serve any meaningful purpose. We must let go of the past and embrace a universal culture. Culture is not a relic of the past, frozen in time for eternity. Culture is a living, breathing entity, evolving continuously to ensure the survival of its people. Those who cling to the notion that their culture is sacrosanct, trapped in the traditions of yesteryear, are deluding themselves. Worse, they are doing a grave disservice to their community. The culture they hold so tightly was itself the result of previous adaptations, shaped by the changing physical, social, and environmental realities. What people call their culture, my culture, and refusing to adapt is in fact an outdated version that no longer reflects the challenges, experiences, or needs of the present. Culture must change because change is life. Let us not mince words. A static culture is a dead culture. That means a culture that does not change, that does not help you to adapt, is a dead culture. It is a milestone, a millstone around the necks of those who blindly follow it, dragging you down while the world moves forward. Clinging to an unchanging culture is like wearing yesterday's clothes for today's unpredictable weather. What protected you once will leave you vulnerable now. Yet, we see many today who, out of misplaced loyalty, insist on defending their cultural traditions as though they are timeless truths, when in reality they are relics of a world that no longer exists. A culture that does not adapt becomes a tool of extinction. That culture loses its relevance and by extension its value as a guide for survival in a constantly shifting world. Culture is meant to be dynamic, to respond to new challenges, to evolve as new information technologies emerges. To deny this essential truth is to invite disaster. When cultures confront one another in today's interconnected world, they are forced into a survival contest, into a fusion. Those cultures that are flexible, that can learn, adapt, and grow will thrive. Those that remain rigid and willing to evolve will inevitably fade into obsolescence. We see this everywhere. Cultures that refuse to embrace change, holding on to rigid, outdated customs in the face of new environments, only succeed in stunting that clinging to old cultures and refusing to change will stunt your growth. Whether it is technological advances, changing social norms, or global challenges like climate change, a culture that cannot adapt becomes a prison for its followers. Worse still, it becomes a force of regression, going backward, dragging in its people backward when the rest of the world is moving forward. These misguided defenders of the past, misguided defenders of their culture, my culture, who see adaptation as betrayal of culture, are blind to the fact that their ancestors adapted to survive. So those who say my culture and the modern world is not my culture, it's Western world, they are blind to the fact that the ancestors adapted to survive back then, not now. So you must create your own culture. If those ancestors had not been willing to evolve, there would be no culture for them to defend today. Let us be clear. The goal of culture is survival. Culture exists to help people to navigate the challenges of their environment, both physical and social. When the environment changes, culture must change with it. Or if it fails to serve this purpose, this is not up for debate. It is a fundamental law of human progress. No society that has clung to the past without adapting to the present has survived in the long term. we see the tragic results of this in societies that have been crushed under the weight of their refusal to evolve, insular, stagnant, and disconnected from the realities of the world around them because they are fighting to live their culture, the past cultures. In today's evolving world, where cultures constantly confront one another in an ever-shrinking global arena, the ability to adapt is not just a benefit. It is a culture. It is a requirement. It is survival. Cultures that resist change, that cling to their past as though it holds some magical power to protect them from the future, are doomed. They are fighting the wrong battle. Instead of preserving what is good and evolving what no longer serves them, they are setting themselves up for extinction. Look around. Technology, communication, migration, environmental crisis are reshaping the world daily. The cultures that embrace change, that integrate new ideas, technologies, and social norms are the ones that will not only survive but flourish. Those that resist, those that cling to outdated traditions and practices in the name of cultural purity are sealing their fate. They are choosing death over life, stagnation over growth, regression over progress. To survive, culture must reflect the present, not the past. It must absorb the lessons of the present environment, adapt to the new challenges, and grow stronger through that process. Those who cling to outdated traditions, refusing to let their culture evolve, are not preserving their culture, they are killing it. A culture that cannot change in the face of new realities is already dead, is people doomed to fall. The time for defending steady cultures is over. The time for defending African cultures is over. To survive in this rapidly changing world, culture must be fluid, flexible, and adaptable. Only then can it continue to serve its people, guide them through the challenges of today, and ensure their survival for tomorrow. Anything less is cultural suicide. Take from your culture what is good for you and discard what is destructive, what is poison. Whether we like it or not, a universal human being is emerging. The future world is one of interconnected people shaped by a global culture that transcends borders. And we might as well accept this reality rather than wasting time fighting the inevitable. The world is converging, and resisting this truth is futile. Reality is what it is. It does not bend to your desires or outdated notions of division. This is my culture, that is your culture, this is Africa, this is European culture, this is what, this is the West. We have already moved from that, beyond that. Our role is not to fight against the universal culture, but to adapt and evolve with it. That's what moving forward means. We are one human race living on a shared planet. And sooner we acknowledge this, the sooner we can stop the senseless conflicts that arise from clinging to artificial separations. National, ethnic, and cultural differences will continue to exist in their beautiful variety. But the underlying truth is that we are becoming more connected, more interdependent. Our destinies are intertwined, black, white, yellow, whether we accept it or not. The idea of one people with a shared global culture isn't some distant fantasy. It is the inevitable outcome of our interconnected world. Technology, travel, communication, and shared global challenges are all forcing us together, and there's no going back, no turning back. Instead of resisting this natural progression, we should embrace it. The survival of humanity depends not on division but on unity. We must learn to live together as one people with compassion, love, and forgiveness as our guiding principles. The conflicts of the past, rooted in ignorance and fear of the other, have no place in the future. In this new world, our differences should be celebrated, but they should not divide us. The common threads of humanity, love, compassion, the pursuit of peace, must be what define us. Not that he's a white man here, he must go back to Europe. I'm an African, making borders around you. Stop these poems and stop this poetry. Oh, I'm an African. You are a universal human being. You are a human person. You are a person on your own right, and you interact and connect with other people, whether they are black or white. So the days of praising artificial separations, that I'm an African, I belong to Africa, it's over. Fighting this global convergence of human race is nothing short of denying reality. The barriers we once constructed based on race, nationality, religion, and culture are crumbling in the face of a world that is more connected than ever before. The real challenge is not in preserving these artificial walls, but in adapting to the truth that we are one species with a shared future. It is up to us to make that future one of cooperation, understanding, and love. We are not the masters of reality. We are participants in it. The sooner we recognize that the future belongs to a united humanity, the better we can prepare for it. Clinging to the old ways of division and conflict is a losing battle, a futile attempt to deny the direction in which the world is moving. We must instead focus on creating a world where all people can live together in harmony as one human race, united not by uniformity, but by our shared values of peace, love, and mutual respect. It is time to stop pretending that we can control or prevent the inevitable. The emergence of the global culture, a universal culture, a unified human race is not something to fear, but something to embrace. It offers the opportunity to build a better world, one where love and forgiveness replaces hatred and division.